We have this instrument. It all sounds different. There's different tones, how we say things, and it literally is like the attractor call to your people. It holds so much weight that we don't even realize. We want to get the right words. We want to do the right thing. But really, it's about people, your people, not every person. But when your person hears your voice, it's literally like resonance, if that makes sense. And so it's part of why I'm obsessed with audio, is because 38% of marketing and sales is voice.
Welcome back to another episode of Launch Your Private Podcast. We have a fun guest today who's going to talk about using audio for launching. We always love this because usually we have very specific numbers. We get all the details in the background. We learn about their business as well and their launch and their programs and that kind of thing. And so this should be a fun one. Julie Ciardi is with us today. She's a human design business coach, which is also super fun because I love human design stuff. We've had a human design person on before as well. So yeah, this should be super fun. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is one of my favorite topics because podcasting, audio, I'm an audio first person, and I love what you guys are doing, and I love sharing these strategies. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be great. Yeah, why don't you give a little sneak peek about like behind the scenes of your business? How is it kind of structured? How do you make money? You know, those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually an IBM vice president of marketing for 20 years. I left about 7 years ago, started my own business, and I help women really be able to use human design to help their marketing and their sales, because 93% of marketing and sales is nonverbal. And so how we show up matters way more than the exact words we're using. And so we really use human design and we help our clients. They're mostly coaches. We mostly help coaches, but consultants too. They are the product. They are their brand, right? And so they need to be able to really step into the confidence, into the energetic match for their business. Not all business strategies are for all types or for all profiles. So we have business frameworks, and then we use their unique human design to help them get very specific in what business and marketing and sales strategies that they should deploy. So it's really fun. We have 300 clients right now in 18 countries around the world.
Wow.
It literally lights me up to watch these women study and learn their designs. We do not do readings. I don't believe in that. I teach them how to study their design, how to read their own design, become their own authority of their unique design. And we are so unique, it's insane. And so the business model we have right now, it's really cool, really simple. I crave simplicity. It's really important to me, a big value, which is written in my design, of course. And what we do is we have a 12 month, I love 12-month programs. They're my favorite way to do it. So we have a 12-month program that's called the Human Design Business Accelerator. That's what they get to do. They get to accelerate their business and their goals using their design. And then we have a certification program called the Ignite Coach School. And we teach coaches how to bring in not all of human design, because it can be pretty complicated, but I like to say the 20% of human design that can help their clients get 80% of the results. So we do a certification process and we have a school. So we have those two products, those programs. They're both a year long. They're so fun. And we have clients that renew with us every year, and clients that have been here for almost 5 years or more, which is super fun. So I love it. I literally pinch myself and I look back and I just want to hug that really scared version of myself that with 3 kids, 2 going into high school, I knew I had college to pay for. I was the primary breadwinner. Like I still made that leap. And I'm like, I think about that now and that scares me. And like, I did it though, you know? And so it was the best thing I ever did. Scary, best thing. And you know, the way I started the whole thing, I started a podcast. So 8 years ago, I started a podcast, and that before I had anything to sell. And so audio, when I was saying that earlier, to me, it's everything. It's how I got the courage to leave IBM, is I would put the earbuds in and go for walks and listen to Amy Porterfield. And back then, like 8 years ago, you know, and it gave me the courage to do the same. So I'm a huge fan. That's my audience too. They listen. They love to listen. And that's their, you know, that's what they have time for, quite frankly. So,
oh my gosh, I love this. I feel like we kind of entered into the business space probably around the same time, because Amy was my person that I was listening to on the way to work. And like, oh, okay, like what is this?
right? Like
so
like all of a sudden you saw what was possible. You're like, I didn't know this world existed when I was in corporate. And I always say I felt like Dorothy when the house landed after the tornado and she opened the, you know, doors to Oz. I'm like, this exists. This is incredible, you know? So, and I love to help women now be able to achieve that for themselves. So it's fun.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I love this. I'm curious, how did you first find out about Hello Audio? Was it through Amy or was it through something else?
Yeah, actually it was. It actually it was.
Mm.
It was Amy because she was doing some kind of an opt-in using a private podcast.
Yes.
And I'm a big like I love to study people that, and businesses that I love and I just love to watch and I love to see strategy and all of those things. And so that's exactly where I heard about it for the very first time. Yep.
I love that. Okay, so now I'm dying to know all the details about the launch, but I'm really interested how you used private podcasts in the launch. I'm curious, and you maybe there's more than one way you used it. I'm just curious what the role of private podcasts were in your launch.
So I have this like new philosophy. I'm a marketer by trade. I was, an IBM marketing executive, right? That was my master's degree. It was in marketing back in the day, right? So I'm a big fan of bringing timeless business strategy that existed before Facebook did. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And I like my whole thing is hashtag back to basics, like back to basics business. And I think that a lot of the trendy, like hot strategy, this, that, or the other thing, it passes. And the biggest reason it passes is because the consumer, the customer gets so much more wise to the game. And so to me, what worked even 5 years ago isn't working in the same way. And so you have to meet it. So again, 5 years ago, my big strategy is live launching. It's very much part of my human design. People need to get to know me, experience me live. They need to have me in their earbuds and listening to me for them to be able to make a several $1,000 decision. I mean, they have to really be in my world of it. And so for me, 5 years ago, I would do the live launch method and like it just closed. We would have six-figure launches and it was amazing and all the things. But then it started to change. And what I noticed is that when I'm running ads, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before a big live event, people would sign up, right? People would sign up and then they would forget what they signed up for, right? Or what changed was people needed a lot more warming up and reminding and coming into my world before the big live launch event that I was going to host. So I've been starting to call this whole concept surround sound marketing. Surround sound. So it's like I'm running the ads, I'm bringing them to register for this live event, which I'm very, very like, I give a lot in these live events. People love them and it's just an experience. But if they signed up 3 weeks before, how do I, get them out? So I started to use the private podcast, not as the lead gen, but the thing that they could do next, the very next thing that they could do once they registered for the live event. And I play with it. Sometimes it's 3 episodes, sometimes it's five. I really swap things in and out. Every launch, I take a new approach. Like I'm actually, my next launch, I was writing it down today, what I'm going to call this private podcast that I'll put in Hello Audio, right? This one's going to be very specific to warm them up for this launch. And so I would curate the content with the concept that a stranger got an ad on Facebook, right? Or Instagram. I always try to put myself in their shoes, they're signing up, whatever I just said they were interested in, but now what do I do next? And so I would create the episodes and to really bring them on a journey and really get them in a hot state before the first time they heard my voice on the day one of the live launch, right? And so they were coming in. And the fun part too, what I do is I use that leading up, but then I use it during, and then I use it during open cart. So once people are in and now it's coming through their Apple Podcasts, it's coming through their YouTube Music, wherever it's coming from, now I've got them in a platform that they're always in, as you guys know, right? So preaching to the choir. And it's great because what I'll do is I will release an episode the night before or the morning of the live launch to say, hey, we're getting started today. Here's how to come prepared. This is what we're doing. If we have a workbook or something for it, I'll talk about it there, put it in the show notes. And I get to view how many people are listening to it, right? In Hello Audio. We then, when during the whole week, we take the audio replay and we put it on that same feed. And people say all the time to us, thank you so much. I work a day job and I'm building my business on the side, or I'm doing this and it's helped me so much. And so, they can't see some things I might be showing, but for the most part, they just love being able to like at least feel like they were part of it and hear it. And it's been great. And then when we go into cart open, I put our client panel interviews, I put those audios on. I actually do think of a sales page walkthrough, but audio. So I do an entire episode that just goes through the offer. Because listen, it's a 12-month offer. There's a lot to it. We give a lot. And so I like to be able to use audio so they don't have to look at anything and all the bells and whistles of a sales page. And I have one, obviously, but I walk them through and they get to hear my voice really explaining, what this is all about, how it's going to work, all of the things. And it just works so incredibly well. So we use it on the lead up, we use it during, and then we use it on the cart close. It's magical. I'm a huge fan.
Oh my
Oh
goodness,
my
I
gosh.
love this, right? Yeah. Do you have follow-up questions, Lindsay, or do you
I
wanna
mean,
there's so
I
many, I
literally
know.
took notes and I was like, okay, so you just dropped like things that we haven't talked about yet. The sales page walkthrough, that's huge. The client panel interview is huge. The like just walking someone through using it during the whole launch. I know we have people that do that, but I think there's
Mhm.
something about the way you're presenting it. So I think my first question is you mentioned having multiple launches. How many times have you used a private podcast in a launch? Like what number launch are we on for you?
So to this degree, because what I started doing earlier last year was
Yep.
I was using it as a lead magnet more.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right? So I was using it
Mhm.
as a lead magnet, and that was good. Definitely helped us. But I wanted to really strategically so actually I think I started using this last January. So a year ago, but hadn't gotten it to this degree of real intentional, like what's up front, what's during, and what's after till these last two launches. I did a launch in
Sure.
November and then I did a launch in January. So within a period of 8 weeks. And interestingly enough, they were two different launches for two different programs. So I told you I have two programs, right? So the November launch was for the coach school and the January launch was for the accelerator. So, and we had two different podcasts. I have a private podcast that goes to with the Ignite Coach School launches, and I have a private podcast that goes with the accelerator launches. I think getting so intentional, and I really think a huge switch for me happened in that this is this surround sound marketing and
Mm.
realizing that people can go into literally a black hole because they might even have registered for something and then it went to spam with any of the information. And so right on the thank you page, right? I'm not leaving it to chance that they're going to have to go to their email to get this, right? What we're doing is we are telling them like right on the thank you page, great, you're in, there's just two more steps, right? Subscribe to this podcast. Obviously, we market it and why they want to do it and then getting them into our Facebook group that we still use. I only use Facebook groups for launching, and then when we're in there, we're sharing the episodes. So we share the individual episodes. We share them on text messaging in the Facebook group and in email during the launch.
Mm.
And I even have concierges that help manage the leads, and they all have the private podcast so that they know, really recommending like maybe a different episode. And so it's just this really cool tool that we've now used with much more intention and strategy for those two launches. But both of those launches were two different products and two different types of podcasts. So it was really cool to watch and test it. And I'm doing it the exact same way going into the March launch. But what's cool is that you guys know this when you have a launch and you bring people in, you start to see who you're attracting, right? Like where are they at? What's happening? And then I always try to say, okay, how do we land more clients like this and maybe less clients like this? Love you, but I'm not maybe the best fit. And how do we land more like this? So that we're always tweaking our messaging based on who we really want to come in. And so that's why I'm updating the private podcast for the March launch because I have like this list of like my favorite clients in the world, right? And I did this whole thought exercise 2 hours the other day where I really said, how do I land more of those clients? I want to work with more of them. They light me up, they give me energy, all that. And so it just caused me to really rethink and massage and shift up some of the messaging and that's what we're going to do. We're going to just shift up the podcast. And the nice thing is you can just do it and it's easy. I mean, I love being in there and just being able to easily throw something up and to do it quickly. Like right now, we're using it this week. We're doing like a teeny little mini launch. I did a 2-hour workshop on Monday and I'm using that podcast that I already had people subscribe to. So I'm almost using it like an overflow launch because they're already been so warmed up. And so I've been adding on episodes for this little thing we're doing right now. And we've had like 43 sales it's just cool. So it's like working even on the long term because you've got them already as listeners and now it's coming through their podcast feed, which they're going to see that every time. They're not going to see every email. So that's why I'm such a huge fan of it, you know?
Now, I'm curious, do you use separate private podcasts for each new launch, or do you use the same
Mm.
feed and you're just tweaking it?
Good question. And maybe I should ask you guys for some advice on this. So, because I have the two private podcasts that are going to two different programs, I was
Mhm.
thinking I was just going to and I have been doing that, altering the content that's already there because I've already got those people, and they were the people that were interested in that program to begin with. So I've been just altering the current feed, is what I've been doing. Yeah, but
That
I have
makes
two of
sense.
them. But I have two of them because I have very different offers.
And then when someone, so let's say, because this happens every launch, it just might not be the right time for someone to engage, but the next launch, the next card open might be. So let's say you have a prospect that was interested, but just wasn't the right time for whatever reason. And now they're thinking about signing up in this next go round and the next card open. They already have access to that private podcast. And are you just reminding them that they have access to it? I guess it would depend if you're using the universal link,
Well, you know what I
or
do? You
did
know
you
what I
use
do?
what do you
A little
do?
trick I do. I don't know but this is what I do. I actually take the episodes down and then
That was gonna be my
I
next question. Perfect.
I relaunch them because I don't want to have to remind them. I just want the episode to come out again. And I'm going to be altering these episodes anyway, so they'll all be new the next launch. But let's say I wanted to keep the episodes, I just uncheck them and undo them and then I republish them is how I've been doing it.
Yep. So the listeners still have access to that feed. Do you actually put a placeholder episode, say, yeah, like it's coming, or do you have any content there, or do you unpublish every episode in the feed?
So what was there from the last time is still there. So if anyone
Okay,
wanted to
great.
go back, they could, but nothing new is obviously coming through their podcast feed. But then when something new does come through, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll warm them up in there a little bit. Sorry, I have a weekly regular podcast too. And so sometimes I just use that also to warm people up a little bit. So this week I've been doing that. Honestly, I'm not in a full blown launch. I'm like trying to give some really good value in there because March, I do have a big launch coming. So it's like, just kind of keeping them warm. Maybe they haven't come fully into the rest of my world from there. And so it's just, to me, if I can get in front of a potential client and that's interested, you lose them in email so quick, you lose them on any social media platform. I mean, I don't know about you, but there are people I actually want to see their things on Instagram and I never do. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about them because they're
Yes.
not in my feed. And so I just can't think of a better, like, to me, it's audio, being in their podcast player and text messaging. I mean, to me, those are two places you see every single one. Nowhere else can you do that. So we do that with texting too, and we text them to the podcast. So
I love
yeah.
that. Oh my goodness. I'm curious because we'll always get this question and we'll have people write in and ask, when you give someone access, do you use the universal link, which is the same for everyone? Or are you sending individual unique links for every subscriber?
So here's what we ended up doing. I'm all about the client experience and how things. So I actually created my own landing page
Mhm.
so that I could really make it beautiful. And on the landing page, I have the QR code for the universal link.
Okay.
And I also say, or the links are right below. And then I put the Apple link.
Mm.
So I put everything on a beautiful branded landing page from the Hello Audio. And then and then I have a short link to it, right? So it's like
Mhm.
Siri.com/, listen or whatever. And that's the thank you page. Even if I ever use it as a lead magnet, I have that also be the thank you page so that it's all right there with the QR code and the links. And I can also then promote like why go listen to this. Here's what's on it, that kind of thing. So that's how I typically do it. And then if it's people that are already on our list, we just usually send them to that page as a reminder of how to get there. When it comes to the individual links, we'll do that too. Like I'll have my team go in and actually grab the direct link to an episode as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's how you're sharing those in like the Facebook group, for example.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see how, like, with how many moving parts there are to the launch, like having private feeds that are, while yes, you have access to the email address and you know exactly which person is listening, for you, it's more like, I just want them to listen. I already have their contact information. I want them to listen. And so you're making that exchange. And we have people, that totally make that decision. I think based on the way you do it and the amount of touch points you have, I think it would make it complicated if it was private because there would be some things you wouldn't be able to do that you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, now I'm curious. Are you able to share revenue numbers from
Yeah.
the 2 launches?
It was crazy. I mean, just the two things we changed. We
Mm.
brought in the private audio. Yeah, we brought in the private audio podcast. And then we also I brought in some of my top clients as concierges because we were getting like thousands and thousands of leads. And so we really wanted to, because my other thing here is I really think that the market has changed where it's about, can you scale with intimacy? Can you
Mm.
scale with still having someone making a connection? And so those were the two things we changed on all of our launches. And I would say, back in 2020, 2021, we were having like six-figure launches, everything, it was like crazy. And then 2023 and 2024, we didn't experience that in that same way. Although we would have like, either oh my God, this sounds terrible. I would have killed myself for saying this back when I was, starting. I was going to say just a 100K launch. That sounds terrible. I don't mean that. But like when you're used to like multiple six figures or whatever. And so we really started to see a decline in the amount of revenue and clients coming through in the live launch. So then I'm like, I don't know, maybe this isn't working the same way. And we would try other things. 2023, we tried lots of things. We did a quiz funnel. We tried everything. Nothing worked as well as the live launch, but it started to work less. So we're like, what's happening? And I think it really is that the warm up after they sign up for the event. And then it's that human touch, which I can't, other than it being in their ear and delivering, I can't personally do that human touch, but we brought people on that could. And I set them all up with my domain emails so that, and we gave everyone a concierge. We said that we're like, you have a concierge that's waiting to talk with you. They were proactively emailing them directly. So we just had this whole surround thing also going on with an actual live person caring about each and every person coming in. It's a lot, like managing all of those leads is a lot, but it worked. And so in the November launch, it was a higher offer, which is only still 5K. It's not like it's like a 30K offer. It's a 5K offer for a year to get certified. And we had one of our biggest launches since 2021, where we closed 320,000 in revenue. Half of that cash in the bank, half of that 12-month payment plans, which I love. I love the split because I like to have that recurring revenue, love to get the cash in. So that was incredible. We had about 50, I think it was like 57, six of those. I think it kept going on. We kept having more people come in after, but I think we landed around 58 people came in to be certified. It was incredible. It was so much fun. And everyone loved the podcast. It was like what I did with that one is, I love working with James Wedmore. I'm in his mastermind. I just adore him. He helped me from the very beginning back 8 years ago and just I love the guy. And he always talks about the domino belief. Like what domino belief do you need to knock down first? And for me, I have to knock down the belief that human design is the best way to build your business, right? I have to, not everyone knows that and not everyone knows what human design is, or maybe they just know what their type is, but they never really understood deeper than that. And so there's a little bit of this lead up and this case that I need to make about this and why I teach it this way and everything. And I wouldn't be able to do that without this private podcast, right? And so being able to tell these coaches ahead of time, oh my gosh, like this is why this is worth it, because I wanted them to be able to show up and really, I got to hear what she has to say about this and then to buy. So that was incredible. Then we did in January, I'm still reeling from this. In January, we held a launch and it was into our Human Design Business Accelerator. And one last thing I'm going to say though, our show up rate live was so much higher at both of these. That's always one of my barometers too. And we know lots of people watch the replay, but the show up rate, like even my team was like, holy moly, we've never had that many people live and staying through the week. We go 9 days. 9 days.
Oh, wow. Long time.
Okay. It's like Monday to the following Tuesday. And those numbers were, it was just crazy. So I think it's part of bringing this into the mix. There's no question. So the January launch, we ended up having just crazy numbers. It was the most clients we've ever enrolled at one time ever. We had 87 clients enroll in our 12-month program.
Wow.
That one at the time, we've increased the price, but at the time it was 2K, and we had 87 people join us. It was just, I can't explain it. It was very surreal. That volume of people saying yes. Think the thing I loved about it the most is that I really felt like people were in a full immersion, right? So I call it the surround sound marketing. It's like they were in a full immersion by the time they came into our program. So they went through the week. We're having all these people join, 87 people. We do this big orientation session to bring people in. Once they were in with us, it was like they were already speaking our language.
Mm.
So, like, you had all these people. I had some people that have been with us for 5 years. Now you have people that are coming in and they're already speaking our language and they're already like part of the community. And I think that the private podcast has a lot to do with that because they're hearing me so much and my clients and what language we use and how I say things. And I think that's another big value is that I think it actually helps on the onboarding after they join, which is so cool.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, what a big difference, especially because you're probably catching folks early on at different levels of awareness,
Mm.
like you had mentioned. So some people are probably intimately familiar with human design, but may not know how to apply it to their business and how that kind of the direct correlation between the two. Some people may have heard of human design. Some people may have misconceptions about what human design actually is. Some people might know theirs, they might not. And so I think just having that baseline and really using that to educate, to connect, to really warm people up, to get them excited even to show up. Because showing up, and I know your audience is busy because they're all business owners, and this is getting someone to show up live is no easy feat because everyone's in different time zones. I think you said initially you had, I mean, how many different countries you've got clients in,
18.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is no easy feat. And to have your show up rate be higher than, I'm guessing most people are seeing, I think that speaks a lot to the content that they were able to consume and consume easily. So they actually did consume it. And then they're able to show up and be really excited about what's to come. That's
A
really
hundred
cool.
percent. And it's so beautiful, like a little nugget for the work that you guys are doing here and how you're helping entrepreneurs really leverage audio. As part of my work in linking the power of human design to basic business principles, that marketing and sales is communication, right? Like, I mean, basically that's what you're doing. You're communicating when you're doing marketing and sales. And 93% of communication is nonverbal. Nonverbal. So when you think about that, if 93% is nonverbal, of that, 38% is tone of voice,
Wow.
Mm.
right? We have this instrument. Like, I really believe this. We have this instrument. It all sounds different. There's different tones, how we say things. And it literally is like the attractor call to your people. It holds so much weight that we don't even realize. We want to get the right words. We want to do the right thing. But really, it's about people, your people, not every person. But when your person hears your voice, it's literally like resonance, if that makes sense. And so it's part of why I'm obsessed with audio is because 38%, if you really think about it, let's boil it to one sentence. And you're welcome. 38% of marketing and sales is voice.
Mm.
Like, right? And your ability to get your voice out there. And so to me, I don't think there's a better way to bring this into your marketing and sales strategy. I mean, we use it on our delivery as well. So it's, you got marketing, sales, delivery. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I deliver a podcast message to my clients every day, Monday through Friday, every day.
Wow.
It's about 10, 15 minutes. I call it the daily frequency. I give them a little energy report of the energy of the day based on human design. And then I help them get into action because everyone
Mm.
loves consume content. Everyone loves it. We all do, right? Like big dopamine hit consuming content. But we got to take action. And so I give them some motivations and, trying to get them to take action. I even give them like a specific challenge to try if they want to go do it that day. We do a quote. It's awesome. They have said that has been massive for them. So again, it's just that tone of voice. It's being able to hear my voice once a day. It's huge. Like people are doing things that they are surprising themselves that they're going to do. So I just want to share that with everyone listening that your voice is so powerful for your people. And so step into it. If you're feeling any call to it, you're obviously, if they're listening to this podcast, they do. So step into it. And how can you use it across the whole spectrum of the business, right? From marketing, sales, and delivery, because the name of the game is once you get a client, I mean, I learned this at IBM, once you get a client, keep a client for as long as you can instead of always after the new. Every time you get a lead, how can you really keep warming that lead? I mean, there's no better way than audio, there really isn't.
It's so cool. I don't want to put words in Lindsay's mouth, but I know that the three of us, Lindsay and Derek and myself, like this is why we designed Hello Audio. I mean, it's like this is to connect with people, to reach them where they're at, and specifically why we did it the way we did with using the podcast apps where people are already at, and how, just reducing the friction. And this, when things work like this feels so great to know that because your people are getting served in a way that they may not have ever experienced before. And that is just really, really cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about your daily. That's quite a commitment. Are you a Manny Gen or are you a generator?
Of course I am.
Like,
Of course I am. Are you kidding me?
You have the workhorse back there, some doing all the things. Okay, so as I hear this, I think of Natalie Bullen's daily podcast that she had her people, and she sells it for a couple $100 and she promised them a whole year of content. And I was just thinking and imagining somebody just buying a program and knowing I have to get through program material on top of blah, blah, blah. If this was a video or sitting in the court, people wouldn't do it. But because it's in the phone and they can take it, I don't know how it's silly to me that I feel like I repeat myself around that so much. But the fact that there are some people out there that is I prefer video. And I'm like, no, you don't. You're just not watching all the videos. Do you know how much audio content is consumed? It's a lot for people that consume audio. So yeah, I'm just thinking about that. That friction could not be there for something like that. And that's why you're having an impact. It's the voice and they know it's doable. They're like, great, I get my hit of the day and they know it's coming, which they love.
100%. And I'll tell you one more thing that I think is I've heard you interviewing people that are using the private podcast for their clients and all of that stuff too, and the content. And I think it's so important to watch what's happening a lot. It's not even just about audio. It's about mobile first.
Yep.
And what's happening is that I just spent a lot of money on a program for my team. And it's so challenging for them to get to the content because it's web-based, right? It's not app-based, it's web-based. And so they'll be like, I can't find this thing. Or they finally go to listen to a training on their phone and then their kid calls and now they've lost it because it was in Safari and it's I hate that. It's why we have our own app. We have our own mobile app because I want the user experience, even if it's audio or video within our own platform, that they can answer a text.
They know where to go. Yeah,
they know where to go and they can answer a text and do other things in their phone while they're listening, which you can in your podcast app, right? So when you are listening to Apple Podcasts, you can go about your day and not be don't time out on my phone or don't screen save and I'm going to lose where I was, or you know what I'm talking about, right? It's such a pain in the, you know what? And so to me, I want the user experience to be so good. I expect it, and I'm not getting it from most places, to be frank. And so to me, when you can use a tool like Hello Audio, it's going through a place that allows them to have the best experience without having to deal with a web browser, any of that. And I just, to me, that's another selling point of why to use that, to be honest. So if you didn't have your own branded app, great. Put all your replays on Hello Audio. Why wouldn't you do that? Put all your replays on a private podcast just for your clients. You will increase, I'm going to call it here, you're going to increase your retention rate, especially if you guys have memberships, all of those kinds of things. Have it be your app, meeting them where they already are. Man, I'm on my soapbox. I'm sorry.
I love it. We're with you.
We're going to hire her for marketing, huh, Nora? She's going to be,
I'm a 2-4. A 2-4 is they have to share what they're so passionate about. And obviously I'm super passionate about this topic.
I love it. No, it's super fun. We love it too. I love when people are just so excited about it because it's you figured out what we figured out. We speak the same language. There's other people we're convincing things and I'm just they're just not going to get it. I don't know what it is. Yeah. This is so good. I'm like sitting here being like, I feel like we could do extra episodes with you on the overflow launch. Okay. What else do I have here? The clients with the intimacy thing is huge. The show up rate thing, I want to pick that apart too. The thank you page thing, Nora, that was pretty good. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
had anyone talk about that. Yeah, the thank you page has to be a universal link. So it makes sense. So, here's a use case for a universal link, or if you're trying to make that decision and you're able to go all out on this. And I do like that you pointed out too, just as a bring it back to maybe a beginner or something, like this isn't how you started with private podcasts. It isn't how you started with launching. These nuances, and Nora and I talk about this all the time. It's like, what's cool is you do it over and over again, and then you keep adding. You look at the metrics, you look at the numbers, you look at how the market's changed, and you're like, okay, cool. What tweaks happen next? And you're already doing that for the next launch. P.S. You launch a lot. Is it what, 4 or 5 times a year? Something like that?
I do.
At least,
I do.
yeah.
And we roll out the different, which program we're doing and all of that.
Mhm.
And I love it because it's exactly what you're saying. I know there's some people that launch once a year or whatever.
Sure.
So much changes. So much changes.
So much.
And
Yep.
I think that part of being an online entrepreneur, but any entrepreneur, quite frankly, is that you're constantly iterating and you can only do it when you're doing it.
Yep.
Like you can't sit and try to plan out the perfect private podcast. You have to create something, you put it out there, you test, you see what
Yes.
worked, what didn't, you adjust, and it's a constant iteration. And I think that's why I like launching like this. Like I don't launch in the summer at all. I have 3 kids. I mean, 2 of them are in college, and like when they're home, I'm like, all I want to do is be with them, right? It's so fun.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of flexibility, but especially how I set up my programs, a lot of flexibility because that's really important to me. But I love launching and I enjoy it and I love serving. And to me, it's so fun. And I love the tweaking because we can tweak based on what we're seeing real time. And
Yep.
so kind of every 5 weeks or so, 6 weeks, we're like doing some kind of big event. And it's so much fun. And I think the audio component has been the game changer for us. That and having concierge, there's no question. It's a lot of the
Yeah.
same content that I've been sharing for a long time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that is the big difference.
Yeah, I think a lot of new entrepreneurs fall in the trap of, I don't know, maybe it's not the same as it was when we started, because you did see these big people launching once a year and that's it. And you're just like, oh, I want to be like that. It's so much work. And it's just like, you don't get any testing for an entire year. And not only that, talk about pressure if like so much of your revenue is based on this like one thing. I think it's like both of those. And it's, you do the little stuff, the little mini behind the scenes launches. We have that too. We have little mini behind the sales, scene sales and stuff like that, where it's just like you build this cadence that then you add the next thing that can be in between the other 2 products, right? Or the other 2 launches. And then you can reiterate.
I always
Yeah.
say, the one time a year launch strategy is often a marketing and sales strategy.
Mm,
It's not a delivery
yes.
strategy. It's like when you think about, I always think about the other person on the other end of it, right? Who maybe they found your evergreen content in your podcast in April and you just did
They
your
have to
one
wait.
launch in March.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yep.
just sent
Yep.
them to an alternative because they're
Yep.
not waiting a year to get their things.
No.
I'm
No.
sorry, they are not waiting a year. You just gave them, to the competition. I like to figure out how we serve. How do we serve where people are, where they are, when they want to do it, and you can still
Mhm.
do it with the basic business principles of some scarcity and urgency and all of those things, because that is part of timeless business tactics since before the internet. But you do it in a way that feels right and feels good. To me, that's so important.
Oh my goodness. This is so exciting. I think we have to have you back for
I would
another
love
episode.
to. I'm experimenting, and I am a big experimenter, right? So
Oh yes.
if there's
What are you working on?
anything-
What is
gonna
something
say,
you're thinking about?
if
Yeah.
there's anything that you're like, ooh, you want to test this? Let me know, because I guarantee you, I'm like with every piece of software or tool or whatever we use, I know I'm barely scratching the surface of the capability of the tool, right? I take and I go, but I'm sure it's definitely open to ideas that you guys have and anything you might want to share or whatever. Or like you can message me and be like, hey, did you ever think about doing this? I'm like, I don't know, let's try it. But I'm actually wanting to test a live launch that's just in audio.
Oh, yes.
So it would be different. I've got to play with it, but I'm thinking this might be something I want to do going into the summer, where it's, instead of it being like the way that I run it, being live and on camera and at a certain time, it's more like the next part drops at this time each day, right? And like delivering it in a live time and all of those things. The other thing I want to try is I want to use something. I was asking around about this. Someone mentioned SpeakPipe. I don't know. I got to see which different
Oh,
software,
yeah.
but I actually want to start doing some Q&A type
Mm-hmm.
things where, especially with my clients, where my clients can actually, speak only like a minute and a half, like you can limit it, right? So a minute and a half question. And then I would take all those questions that I want to answer and I could literally have their voice be
Yeah.
in the episode with me. And then I can say, oh, here we got a great question from Cindy. And then I let the Cindy question play for everyone. And then I'm answering it. And so it's something that's another thing I'm considering. Another thing we're considering testing because I'm big on the delivery side. I have this mantra right now that, we're at 300 clients. We want to get to, 1,000 clients. And my mission with the team is that people are going to have better, faster results when we have 1,000 clients than when we had 100.
Mm.
And that's changing how we think about things. So the same questions get asked all the time by clients. And so having even an FAQ private podcast that my team can keep contributing to, like they record on it, not even me, where like my team is like, oh, we keep getting this question. And then they can send the link to that episode instead of answering the same questions all the time, right? Like stuff like that. Even we're, going to be using a bot within our membership. And it's like, we could program the bot to send different episodes because people, I think, hear better on questions sometimes and trying to read it. If they can because I don't know, some people are audio, that I'm very audio in listening in how I learn. And so it's just another way to have FAQ, but in a way for people for it to hit differently.
Yeah.
I did it today. We had a big workshop yesterday for our clients and I was answering some questions. I couldn't get to them all. They were dropping them in the Zoom chat. I had my team send me all the questions in a Google Doc. And literally earlier today, I recorded a podcast to answer all the questions that I didn't get to. And then I just pushed it. It's out there. Like, how cool is that, right? It's like I can talk to them so I can have 1,000 clients and still it can be intimate. And I think that's the key. It's that intimacy and wanting to feel seen and heard. And they were so like, thank you so much it took me no time. It took me 14 minutes.
Yep.
And it's so easy to upload it. So like, just do it.
I think she's reading.
You
our
basically,
minds,
yeah, she's the whole season of Launch Your Private Podcast, like our top episodes. I'm like, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, the FAQ feed, I think, is going to be huge for your people because you're attracting people that like audio. Because we've talked about this before. They're coming through that whole way, like continue it, right? They've met you through audio, like keep offering it in the same respect.
Why take it away? Why take it away after the
Why take it away? Totally. This has been more than fun. I love this.
So fun.
I'm so glad we made this work. For those listening, we had a little bit of a tech hiccups at the beginning, but we made it happen because that's what we do over here. So yeah, Julie, thanks so much for hanging out. Nora, do you want to ask our closer question?
Oh, yes. So the question that we like to ask all of these episodes with some of our users, if there was a private podcast with your life's musings, what would it be called?
Oh gosh, what would it be called? What am I here for? Because I'm
Nice.
always in the pursuit of purpose and why am I here and so what am I here for?
That's a good
I
one.
like it. I like it. And hearing your voice say it, I'm like, yes. Like,
Yes,
I
that's
want to
right.
keep listening. Yeah. Very fun. Well, Julie, thank you so much for hanging out. And yes, we can't wait to have you on definitely the next episode. So let us know whatever podcast takes off for you.
I'll keep you posted. Yeah, let you guys know how the March one goes and anything new that we try. And likewise, if you guys have any ideas and you want to be like, hey, you should try this. I'm like, all right, maybe we'll try this. And we're big experimenters over here. So it'll be
cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out. And there you have it, audio heads. Another episode of Launch Your Private Podcast is in the books. I hope you're leaving today feeling even more ready to amplify your voice and connect with your audience in meaningful ways. The adventure continues in our next episode with even more insights, strategies, and inspiration to help you along your own private podcasting journey. Of course, make sure to check out helloaudio.fm to start your own private podcast. And remember, you've got amazing content that needs to be heard. So let's turn the volume up. Until next time.